Thanks, Mike. Now, Alex Dingman along with Chris Campbell, and we're going to talk a little bit about the week in sports. And I think the biggest thing that happened this week was the NFL draft. So, Chris, let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, let's start off by talking about the fact that the number one guy who we thought was going to go number one, number two, Brady Quinn, actually went 22 in the draft. And over the past couple of months, it's kind of been a big deal to see that a lot of people said, well, if he doesn't go number one, number two, he's going to go 18 or higher. And it was predicted right. He did go 18 or higher, went to 22. And with all the media coverage and all the other things that are going on with him, it's really strange that he went 22, especially a guy who's as good as he is, or as good as he's been throughout the college season. Yeah. But actually, to go number one, Jamarcus Russell went to the Oakland Raiders, number one overall. He came in from LSU, and he's going to be playing quarterback for him now. So, some other teams made some good pickups too. Kansas City Chiefs made some more LSU guys. We picked up a wide receiver who's going to be a good addition to the Chiefs team. What do you think how do the Chiefs fit into this whole thing?
Well, as far as the draft is concerned, Dwayne Bowe, wide receiver from LSU. The Chiefs obviously need help at wide receiver. They haven't had a number one wide receiver in the last few years, not since the turn of the century. So, that's definitely a big question mark for them that they were able to fill. But, it's got to be it had to be difficult to pass up Brady Quinn. The Cowboys had that 22nd pick, and they decided to trade it to the Browns, who they got a first-round pick for next year. But the Chiefs at 23, maybe they could have thrown something together and traded one pick up with the Cowboys to try to get Brady Quinn. Well, but it didn't quite happen for him.
I think it's a smart pick. I think the wide receiver is a smart pick. They got two old guys playing wide receiver now, and they need somebody to step up, a young cat to step up and take this team, somewhere else. Somebody that they can get in the red zone and toss it up in the corner of the end zone to. And I think they made a smart pick. The Chiefs have a solid running game. They got Larry Johnson back there. He's probably, if not the best, one of the best running backs in the NFL. And he's running the ball great. But some of the other picks the Chiefs made that were a little off on me was they went with Turk McBride in the second round, a D lineman. In my personal opinion, I think the Chiefs need an offensive line. I think they need something in front of Larry Johnson to push that ball in the red zone and push the ball up and down the field. Mm-hmm. And it seems like after Willie Roaf left, it kind of went here and there with that whole thing. It wasn't the running game that it always used to be. And that's what Herm Edwards' scheme is at all times. It's run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, and pass it here and there. 3rd and 10, pass the ball, something like that. And that's where this key receiver from LSU is going to come in and work well for the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. They really needed a guy like him that can get down the red zone. He actually set school records of career touchdowns and also single-season touchdowns for this past season when he pretty much just blew up. He really hadn't done much at LSU before then. He was kind of like a third-string wide receiver his sophomore year, and then he actually got hurt his junior year, but then he came back with a vengeance in senior year, and that helped out that he had Jamarcus Russell to throw him the ball to. But this Dwayne Bowe, he's 6'2", 217. He can run. He ran a 4.57 at the combine, but he can run a sub 4.5. So he's got good speed. But really, his biggest attribute is just his toughness and his ability just to weave himself through traffic and make catches in the end zone. And he really will help out their wide receiver situation. I mean, you look at it, they have Sammy Parker and Eddie Kinnison. A couple guys that realistically.
Been around for a while.
Yeah, Sammy Parker's a younger guy, but Eddie Kinnison is somebody who's at the decline of his career.
Of course.
Yeah,
Well, if you look at the season last year, they threw the ball to Parker a few times. Parker made a lot of dropped the ball a lot last year, and Kinnison they didn't throw the ball to him much. Plus, the quarterback situation here in Kansas City isn't that great. I mean, they were planning on trading Trent Green. Damon Heward, stepped in last year, took it up, and got this new guy coming in, all this stuff. So it's really an awkward situation in Kansas City. But the running game is good, and they're working on the passing game, obviously, with this new pick.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on with some other picks here in the draft. We talked about Jamarcus Russell for the Oakland Raiders going number one overall. We had that go on. A big thing that just happened: the Panthers cut Keyshawn Johnson to pick up Dwayne Jarrett from USC. And the big thing was Keyshawn thought that he was going to be the mentor. He was going to be the guy bringing him in, and that's not happening anymore. I mean, the Panthers got rid of him. So I think that's a pretty interesting story that they just dropped a big name like that.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, too, because he was an analyst during that whole NFL draft.
Oh, yeah, he was all over the NFL draft.
They had him. He was on that, 4-guy panel there as every pick was being made. And, the whole time after the Dwayne Jarrett pick, he was just like, this is going to be great. Now our wide receiver core, with me and Steve Smith and Dwayne Jarrett, we're just going to be unstoppable. And, Keyshawn's a lot like Dwayne Jarrett in some ways. They're both, 6'5", big-bodied wide receivers. And that would have been nice to have those two guys in the red zone. But, they decided to go with the little youth movement, releasing Keyshawn Johnson. He's like 36, 37 now, he's a little bit older, but, he still had a good year last year. He had over I believe 700 yards receiving. So he did a good job there. But I guess they just figured it's time to move on, and Dwayne Jarrett's the new wide receiver for them, and they haven't really lost very much in losing them. They're pretty much have the same wide receiver tandem that they had last year.
Oh yeah. Well, we speak of wide receivers in the draft here. Another big thing that happened is Detroit also picked up another wide receiver. Now I think this is an interesting pick for them to pick a wide receiver. I mean, it's a team who hasn't done much in the last 6, 7, 8, 10 years. Yeah, since Barry Sanders, they haven't done anything. And I think it's very interesting that they pick up another wide receiver. I mean, what is it going to do for them? Last year they picked one. This year they picked one first round. I don't know where they're going with it. They picked a kid out of Georgia Tech, Calvin Johnson, but I don't think they're going to go very far with it. I don't think it's going to do them any good.
Yeah, well, it is an interesting situation. They still have Mike Williams, Roy Williams, and now they have this, Calvin Johnson, who I actually thought was the best player coming into the draft. He's just a manimal out there. He's
a manimal.
He's a manimal. I mean, he's a big body, 6'5", but he can also run a 4.4 40. So. That kind of thing is just rare, and he has like a 42-inch vertical to go on top of it. So
it's good. I mean, it's
he's
it's going to help, but it's one of those things where you look at the pick and say, well, here and there, what should you have done?
Because they still, John Kitna is their quarterback, and he's a solid guy, but he's not going to win MVP for it. Probably not win you a Super Bowl title, but. I look for Calvin Johnson to have an outstanding career. Hopefully, they can just get more pieces around him.
Obviously.